Next we have something that isn't really like anything I've covered so far on this show, One Night Stand. I wanted to branch out into other genres a bit, and so I looked up something that wouldn't take too long so I can work out how I'm going to handle scripting them. So on starting a new game, we wake up with a hangover and no memories of the previous night other than drinking a lot. Our phone buzzes and we try to find it, but our eyes haven't focused yet. This part is here to teach us to use the cursor to look around. Grab the phone and see we've got a text from our mate Gary, who was wondering what happened to us last night, reminding us that we were out with him. I have the choice to respond, and since my first playthrough is just going to be a simple, generically polite one, just to get a taste for the game and see what directions I can go in on subsequent playthroughs, I answer and find the phone is about to die. We go looking for our phone charger until our eyes focus fully and we realise that this isn't our bed, and we're naked, and there's a naked woman right next to us, and we don't know who she is. We work out this has to be her room before getting another text from Gary. He's whining about how we abandoned him after he cancelled a date to go drinking with us. Well, tough shit Gary, you have to deal. Even reading this, we're still not sure of the details, whether we really did bail after one round or he's just exaggerating. We think we can tell him the situation and ask for advice. I choose to go through with it, but he doesn't believe me. We can barely recall leaving Gary, but we still can't remember who this woman is. We're then given the option to sneak a photo of her to prove it to Gary. But this is still the good manners run, so I don't. Not that it matters because the phone dies right after. Now to figure out what to do next. There's a choice of waking the woman up, going back to sleep, or trying to escape. Honestly, trying, or at least pretending, to go back to sleep until the woman wakes up seems like the least awkward option. As we think about this, the covers are thrown over our eyes as she runs out of the room herself. We reason she's just as uncomfortable about the whole situation as we are. We wonder if she wants us to leave. I now have the option to look around the room. What I look at will influence how the rest of the playthrough will go. First thing I look at is a photo of a woman and another man. We can only assume this is who we woke up with, and hope this is an old photo as she looks pretty young in it. Right now we don't know if the man is a relative, a friend, an ex, or a current boyfriend. I look in the mirror next to show the viewers I have a permanent shadow obscuring my face. I'm kinda insecure about it, so let's not focus on it anymore. Instead let's focus on what's stuck to the mirror, some vague writing and some gig tickets, 2 of which haven't been used yet. I then inspect the teddy bear, which is old and falling apart, so best not to touch it. After inspecting 3 things, the woman returns. It's clearly the woman from the photo and it's very awkward for us. When given the choice, I just say, hey. She apologises for running out of the room and hopes she didn't freak us out. For us, the only real shock was the covers being thrown on us. Her stomach started playing up, which was why she ran out like that. We ask if she's okay, but her evasive response makes it clear it wasn't pretty. We also learn that the buzzing of our phone also woke her up at the same time, and we run out of small talk again. I can ask about the things I looked at while she was out. The photo seems a bit personal, so I tell her I like a teddy bear instead. She's had Mr. Puds since she was a kid. She panics at the thought we may have touched him, but calms down when she finds out we didn't. She's been meaning to get him fixed for a while. Despite us in-game thinking that they've never seen someone so protective of an old teddy bear before, I certainly have. We're running out of relevant things to talk about, so I ask if she also has a terrible hangover. She doesn't have it as bad as we do, but she says it wasn't surprising after the night we had, which we still can't remember. She asks how I'm doing and I choose to act tough and talk it down. She says we'd already had a few drinks before she started talking to us, which conflicts with Gary's claim about us leaving after just one. She's gonna get a drink and asks if we want anything, so we just ask for a coffee. She then asks how we have coffee and I just choose with milk. That's not a reflection of my own tastes, by the way. I can't stand coffee in any form. And so she leaves to put the kettle on and we try to formulate a plan. We don't want to let her know that we can't remember her and worry we might have weirded her out already. At this point we can decide how we feel about her. We just decide on her seeming nice in this playthrough. Now we get to look around some more. I look to the left and inspect a romance novel on the bedside table. The description is a little generic, but from it we can work out that she likes romance. We can decide our own thoughts on it here, and since there's no indifferent option, I choose intriguing, making us think we could ask her about it. I also check out this half-empty bottle of wine. We think this could be the cause of the hangover, but we also don't drink red wine, so maybe not. The woman returns and hands us the coffee, and we tell her it's good, which is a lie, as there is no good coffee. She asks how we're doing again, and since we don't really know, we just say we're okay. We next had the 3 things we looked at. Shit. It might have only been 5 days from Final Fight 2 for you lot, but it's been over a month for me. That's how I've been making them this last year. 1 month making 2 months worth of videos, 1 month recording games. But this is first one at month and it's like being back from a summer holiday, I can't remember how to speak. We next have the 3 things we looked at to choose to ask her about. There. The romance novel seems like the least dangerous option, so let's go with that. It gets her going a bit, claiming books like that to be one of her vices, but she thinks this one is trashy. She sees why people like it, but it's not for her. She'll finish it regardless though, as she hates to leave any book half-read. Things go awkward again, so we decide we best just say anything about last night. She says that she owes us her thanks, as she was feeling down last night. She'd always brushed off the idea of using a dating app, and when she finally gave it a go, she spent ages building up the courage and finding the right person, only for him to stand her up and leave her on her own for an hour. And then she ran into us just before she was about to give up and go home. We saw how upset she was, bought her a drink and cheered her up. We listened to her rant about the guy who cancelled for ages and saved the night for her. This lets us work out the rest on our own as to how we ended up here and why we bailed on Gary. But we still don't remember what we talked about, but we just tell her we're happy to have made her feel better, but that our friend isn't happy with us. She apologises, but we say he'll get over it. She didn't know we were even out with anyone, but when we go into more detail, she goes silent for a bit when we drop Gary's name. She then questions which bar we were with Gary at. We can tell she's onto us, but we genuinely can't remember which bar. I decide to just be honest and say we don't know. She can't believe it, and figures that if we can't remember the first place we went, we most likely can't remember anything past that then. And then she realises we don't remember her name and feels humiliated. She offers to fill in the missing details, and I take that offer. So she was waiting at the Paradox nightclub at around 10 and already a bit tipsy when we approached her, not seeming very drunk. We had a drink and got talking in a quiet spot, but when the club got louder, we suggested going somewhere else. After that, things get fuzzy for her. The last thing she remembers is us getting a taxi. We can push for further details, but I choose to leave it there. She has no idea what happened to anyone else I was with, but we're just glad to have some blanks filled in. We're a bit embarrassed though. The doorbell rings, so she goes to answer it. This gives us a chance to look around some more and find more clues as to what else happened last night. I look to the right to see a pile of magazines, mostly music and gaming magazines. How many of the UK gaming magazines are still around? Most of the Nintendo ones from my childhood and teens look to be gone now, and I don't think I've seen a dedicated Xbox magazine in a shop in over a decade. We find our jeans on the floor but can't put them on without our boxers. In the pocket we find a fully stamped card for a free cocktail from the Sandbar. The 5 cocktails at least explains why we can't remember anything. The woman returns. It was just a post and she notices that we have our jeans. We take the chance to get to know her a little more. I compliment the photograph, and between the choices available, I ask if that's a relative. She confirms that it's her older brother. She was about 17 when that photo was taken, and she never got to see him much, as he's usually touring with his band, and that photo was taken on the day of his band's final show. Things go quiet again, and she tells us that going out and bringing a stranger home isn't something she usually does. This is the first time. She asks us if we ever had a one-night stand before. Telling her no makes her feel a little better about it. Her point is that she doesn't want this to become a thing. She points out that we never snuck off while we had the chance, and she was expecting us to have left by now. She's not trying to kick us out though, and seems to not mind us still being here. But she feels she's talked enough about herself, but doesn't know much about us. We have no idea what to say though, while she just wants to know more to make this situation less weird. We have the choice to talk about our hobbies, friends or personality. I choose hobbies, but before we can get anywhere, she rushes out of the room again. We now have a choice to wait or go help her. I choose to help as she looked unwell, but as we open the door, she comes back in. She'd suddenly started feeling sick, leaving us the option to offer help, offer to leave, or to just continue the conversation we were having. I offer help, but she says she just needs to rest. So we quickly gather the rest of our things and she points me out to the nearest bus station. After she states her appreciation for last night, we have the option to say no problem to her thanks, stay friends, or the one I choose, desperation. Throwing out a love declaration to someone we couldn't remember 20 minutes ago surprisingly doesn't work. She makes it clear she enjoyed the night and appreciates the time she spent with us, but it was just a one-night stand, nothing meaningful. She just wants for us to go our separate ways and move on with our lives. And there's my first ending. We say our goodbyes and we leave. But it's an uncomfortable parting, and we wish things went better as she seemed nice, but if she doesn't feel the same way, not much we can do. That's one of 12 endings unlocked, heading separate ways. Things could have gone much worse though, as we're about to see. So now I've seen how a pretty neutral run went, let's see how much of an arsehole we can be. I can now fast forward through dialogue I've already had before as well. It makes it easier to keep track of what I have and haven't seen yet. This time, fuck Gary. We're hungover, we've just woken up, we can't be dealing with his whining right now. After I turn around and see the woman for the first time, I get Gary demanding a reason for leaving him again. I choose not to tell him my situation, it's none of his business. Not having wasted the last of our battery texting, we try checking our social media to see if we've been tagged in any photos of last night. However, the phone is taking forever to load and dies anyway. I have a choice of what to do next. I choose to try and escape while we think she's still asleep, but that's when she throws the covers over me and I get to look around the room again. First thing I do is look to the left and snoop through her wallet. We know we shouldn't, but it might have some useful information. Inside is a student ID with her photo and the name Louise Morrell, along with a date of birth. I admit to forgetting this game was a few years old when I played it in 2021, and being very confused when we referred to her as 26 years old when at the time of me playing she'd have been 30. Although we do wonder if this card is legit. I put the wallet down and next inspect her underwear. I have the option to leave them, but this is the arsehole run, so I swipe them. We still can't find our boxes and so consider these both for comfort and as a weirdo trophy, so I choose to put them on. We reason it's a fair swap since she still has our boxes. And then looking to the right I find a flyer on the ground for the Paradox nightclub. Inspecting the third object has her return and this time I choose to remain silent. She gets distracted in the middle of the apology for the covers and after a long silence asks what the fuck we are doing wearing her underwear. I'm going the full dickhead point so I have a say there memento. She doesn't see the funny side and I'm not sure explaining we're swapping for our boxes helps either. As one would expect, she tells us to leave. She throws us out and as we ask about her underwear, she just tells us to keep them and go away. Wearing only them, we stroll away looking confident and pleased with ourselves. We look for a bus station and in the background we can hear a police siren. Whether this is just there for the ambience of the street or we're being arrested for indecent exposure is never told. And that was the ending in a twist. Now I'm just going to wing it for a bit and see what other results I can find. This time I engage with Gary again and choose to take a photo of a sleeping woman to send to him. This does have consequences, but I don't reach them on this playthrough. When she runs out, I once again look through her wallet to learn the name Louise. I then check the flyer and magazines again before she comes back in. After our initial conversation, I choose to ask about the hangover again. This time I try to act even tougher by saying that we're alright, but she doesn't really believe us. This time instead of coffee, we ask for painkillers, instantly giving away that we were lying about feeling fine. This time when deciding how we feel, I choose to have us think she seems cool. This time when looking I inspect her makeup to see a lot of black, making us assume that Louise is either a rocker or a goth. Looking at her shelf has us see a lot of English lit textbooks, so we assume she's studying at a college or uni. There's also some DVDs. Louise returns and gives us the painkillers, telling us they're quite strong so they should easily deal with the hangover. I ask about her books and she confirms she's studying English lit at university. We ask if she's enjoying her course and she says she is, though there is a lot of projects and it's tough to juggle it all. We go through the part where she talks about how we met again, and since we saw the leaflet on the floor, when she asks where we were with Gary first, I have us guess it was Paradox. That has her tell us that was where we met, and gives away that we don't remember a lot. But at least remember that her name is Louise. But then she asks why we call her that. It's not her name, so she works out that we can't remember her name. When she asks where we thought of that, she realises the only solution is that we looked through her wallet and read her fake ID. She's had enough of the snooping around and asking questions and kicks us out. We're not even given the chance to grab our things before we're thrown out. We at least manage to grab our phone first. But we're stuck outside, naked. She doesn't answer the door even when we yell and bang on the door. But that gets us attention so we just have to deal with it. Of course we don't know where we are or where to go. We see the bedsheet from a neighbour's washing line and try to find our way home. But we hear police sirens again so it probably didn't go well for us. That was the Walk of Shame ending and a quarter of the endings found so far. Fourth run, I don't give Gary a photo and inspect the Paradox flyer, my dead phone and a pile of her dirty clothes on the floor. This time we don't see any point in trying to steal them. This time when given the chance, I just ask her the time to learn that it's just turned 10 AM. When she asks how we're doing, I have us admit that we feel like shit. We ask for the painkillers again and since we told the truth this time, that whole bit goes along much smoother. Though her saying that we should have some painkillers has us wonder if there's anyone else here. This time I inspect her guitar, thinking we can still play a bit. When given the option to play without permission, I don't. Looking at the makeup after this has us comment that it matches the guitar. She returns with the painkillers and we say we like her guitar. Her brother got her it for her last birthday. She's teaching herself so she can only play a few chords. This opens a few more conversation options, so next we ask her musical style. She prefers 80s rock, which the bar last night played a lot of. She's even having a go at writing her own songs. Once again we go through her story on the previous night. Once again we say we were at Paradox, but since we didn't snoop through her wallet we don't have her fake name. This time when she offers to fill in the details of last night, we say there's no need. She's fine with that, but also tells us we don't need to put up a front. We drank a lot last night, so it only makes sense our memory's fucked. She has a chuckle at the thought of being in our situation herself and how terrifying she would find it. She says we should call the taxi driver and apologise for puking on his seat, but it turns out she's just joking. When she goes to answer the door, I look at her record player and vinyl collection. It's mostly classic rock and film soundtracks, but we don't know how records even work, so we don't dare touch anything. On top of the shelf is a DVD case for some film called Love IRL, about a girl who falls in love over an MMORPG. We decide it sounds cute. When she returns, I have us ask about the film. A friend lent it to her and we wonder how they handle showing the difference between real life and in-game. She thinks it was done well. She thinks the love story was sweet and the male lead was cute. We decide we should check it out ourselves at some point. Once again she asks if we've ever had a one-night stand before and we say no again. When we get to the part where she asks us about ourselves, I have us talk about our personality, but once again she feels ill and runs off. This time I choose to wait and look around some more. I check out the pills next to her wallet. We don't need them, and after looking at the side effects, we leave them alone. There's also a little box, but since we're currently in her good books, I choose not to open it. When she returns, I try to continue the conversation, but she's just not feeling well enough and we gather our things. When she thanks us for the night, we tell her no problem and set off. This is the best result we've had so far. We managed to walk off in a good mood, finding her nice but being a little surprised she wanted us to leave. We also wonder if she'll remember us. That ending was called That's a Wrap. Fifth run, and I ignore Gary and try to leave first chance we get. But of course we get the covers before we can even act. This time I inspect my shirt, which somehow wound up on top of the TV. It stinks, but we don't have much choice, so we put it on. Next is grabbing the jeans. Near the wine bottle I check out one of her socks to find my boxers underneath. This time when she returns I choose to stay silent to keep things awkward. She also notices that we're fully clothed. Things go as usual for a bit and I have us ask for a coffee. This time I choose the go home option to try and sneak out while she's putting the kettle on. We reach the door, but it's locked. First I check the coat pocket, but no. Then we root for a bag, but there's nothing again. There's nothing in the pot, but the key's in a pile of paper clips next to it. However, we took too long and she caught us. We try to form an excuse, but she works it out and just tells us to go. We try to weasel our way out of looking bad, but it doesn't work and she's clearly hurt. Saying just a goodbye would have been enough. She throws us out and we feel bad about being caught, but don't regret our decision to leave as we had no interest in learning more about her. We feel she overreacted and we try to find our way home. That ending was caught. Okay, 6th day in a row waking up with a massive hangover. This can't be healthy. Personally, I'm quite lucky in that I've made it to being very close to 30 without ever having had a hangover. I've had one night when I was 18 when I drank too much too soon and made myself sick, but still avoided a hangover. But since then I've always been careful and known to pace myself. That and I don't drink often anymore these days anyway. But enough about me in real life, back to me in game. I try the same strategy as last time. We gather our clothes and when she asks if we want anything, we turn down the offer. When she leaves, we once again sneak to the door. We find the key, unlock the door and it still won't open. We flick the handle up top and we're free without her noticing. We leave and don't look back. We were not interested in knowing her more and felt we'd been kind enough already, but we still don't know our way home. That was no time to waste and half of the ending's unlocked. Run number 7 and I give Gary his attention and a photo of the sleeping woman. I check the pills, her wallet and the novel when she runs out. I ask about the novel again when she gets back and then choose to ask about herself. We don't want to get too personal and make her uncomfortable, so we just compliment her place. We do learn from this that she shares with flatmates. When we take a turn and she offers a coffee, I decide we're going to be difficult and ask for something fancy. We throw out a ridiculous request for a stranger in someone's home. She's clearly not impressed, but she gives it a go. I look inside the box to the left and find it has some earrings. They're pretty old and heavy and we don't think she was wearing them the previous night. She returns with our coffee and is understandably annoyed at having to make it. And even then, we're still being a nitpicky twat in our head about it. We choose to ask about the wine bottle, saying she didn't need to spoil us with it, thinking it was fancy. But she says it wasn't fancy and we say we usually don't drink wine. She says we didn't drink any of it, she just keeps that bottle by her bed. We respond as if that's unusual and she says she likes to have the glass while she reads, taking some offence at our judgmental tone. But since we look through the wallet, I end up with a repeated ending as we give away her fake name and get thrown out naked again. Next try, we send Gary the photo and steal her underwear, getting dressed before she returns so she doesn't notice. We think she's found out when she makes a comment on our jeans, but she's only commenting on the fact that we had them on. Skip ahead to her leaving to make a drink, I decide that we think she seems weird. I look through repeated things, saying that we think the film looks boring so that when she returns and I bring it up, we can tell her exactly that. So she tries to explain why she likes it, and we just cut her off with a dismissive noise, so she drops it. Then we complain about it being awkward again as if it isn't our fault. Skipping through the talk of last night, we turn down the recap of what happened. But since we found our sandbar card in our jeans, we wonder if we really did drink too much or just had a bad mix. When she leaves to answer the door, we can look through her laptop and maybe find out her name there. We finally learn that her name is Robin Smith, and she has 67 friends on Facebook, which isn't a lot apparently. We try to snoop on her some more, but suddenly someone messages her, so we close it to avoid being caught. But at least I can now call her something other than her or the woman. Robin returns, and when she asks if we've ever had a one-night stand, I choose to stay silent, implying the question is making us uncomfortable. Nothing else new until she turns ill and runs off. Just to be a dick, we can look through her underwear drawer and say we don't need to steal any as we already have a pair. We can also pose in the mirror with said pair on. When she returns, we hear a phone buzzing. We know it's not ours, as ours is dead. Then we hear Robin react in horror as she's received a nude photo from a friend of herself. Gary gave us away by posting the photo we sent all over social media. All of her family and friends can see it, and when she asks why we do something like this, all the responses are various degrees of arsehole. No point defending ourselves, I have us stay silent. She tells us to leave and wishes she'd forgotten last night as well. We grab our phone and leave. We aren't surprised things ended this way, as we thought she was odd, and somehow her reaction to our behaviour shows why she doesn't have many friends. Once again, we don't know how we're getting home. That was the going viral ending. Next time I get dressed from the waist down the first time Robin leaves. The second time we get our shirt and check out the vinyl collection so we can ask her about it when she returns. Her brother got her a record player and she's been collecting since. And she gives her reasons. They're the same you get from most people who are into vinyl. She says they take her to a nicer time. We could be a dick and ask if she's heard of CDs, but instead we ask her to elaborate on that nicer time part. When her brother used to tour with his band, he'd always return home with a big stack of records that he'd play with her and teach her about. Skipping ahead to Robin answering the door, and I check out the guitar to ask her about when she gets back. Since we've talked so much about music, we can request a song from her. She seems unsure, but goes along with it. She plays us something she's been working on, letting us know she's never played in front of anyone else before. She plays her song, which keeps playing over the ending. We choose to stay friends as we leave. Robin sees us to the door and gives us her phone number, but we still don't know her name in this timeline. She started off nervous while playing, but quickly gained confidence, and we could tell she had talent. In the end, both of us are happy with the way things went. When we return home and charge our phone, we get a text from her. So far, this attempt has been the most positive result. That ending was her song. The next one has us get dressed, but nothing else new until the point she gets ill and rushes to the bathroom. This is the point where we try to leave without her noticing. We can hear her vomiting, and if we choose to sneak out, we can see her as we sneak by. We unlock the door and leave her to her misery. We assume she may have wanted something deeper from us, but we don't care and have no interest, so we just power walk away and look for a way home. That ending was no matter what, and there's 3/4 of the endings obtained. Next time we use our knowledge from previous cycles to mimic her opinions, saying the film looks interesting and the book looks trashy. There's a notebook underneath the novel where it looks like she's writing a story of her own. We're trying to get in the good books this time, so we say it sounds romantic. I chat to Robin about the film when she returns, compliment her flat, ask for a white coffee, the way she likes it too. I get half dressed, and when she returns we ask about the novel. We let her know we don't remember the night and have her explain it all to us. When she goes to enter the door, we get our shirt on, and when she returns, we decide we're going to give our thoughts on her story. We say we like it, but the knowledge we snooped around something private doesn't please her. But she isn't as angry about it as she could be. The rest of it is nothing new until we offer help when she's ill and she asks us to leave. We ask if we can stay friends and she's fine with that, but she clarifies just friends, not friends with benefits. Despite looking through a notebook, we did cheer her up when she was down and we didn't sneak off, and she's grateful for it. We wonder if that's enough, but we decide it's best to not spoil it. We can ask if we can be more, but I choose not to. She's made herself clear, and there's always the chance things could change in the future, so we hug and we leave. We don't know her name, but we have her number, and know where the nearest bus station is, so we end this encounter feeling pretty good about it, getting a text from her when we get home. This was the friend request ending. The next run doesn't count as a new ending, but I do get myself thrown out in a new way. When Robin asks what we want, we ask for painkillers, and while she's gone, we inspect the pills next to the bed and read those side effects. However, looking at those pills first and reading the side effects has us suspicious when she gives us the painkillers. We take them anyway, not to give away our mistrust. But then we can ask her about the pills anyway. When she asks why we were looking, we say we thought they may have something to do with her hangover. She's very hurt that we would accuse her of drugging us and tells us to leave. We manage to grab our phone before she throws us out and we walk home, but at least we were clothed in this run. On my next run, I do nothing but choose the go home option at the first opportunity. First we refuse as we're naked. This happens 4 times. Then we start to wonder if walking outside naked would really be that bad. We're probably not far from home. But we snap out of those thoughts. But then we become paranoid. What if this is a trap? What if she wants to keep us here? Maybe she'll try to drug us. Maybe she already did. Eventually we convince ourselves that we're in danger and we run out. We don't care about the cold air as we run off and never look back. We start to regret this though as we gain awareness that, oh shit, we're naked in public. Onlookers laugh at us and beep their cars at us. We try to sprint home, but once again we can hear those police sirens. And that was the Run of Shame ending, just one left now. I can learn Robin's real name snooping through her wallet by just choosing the correct card. We learn she's actually 5 years younger than the fake ID says, but since we have no way of knowing which of the IDs is real this early, I choose to believe neither, figuring just asking her name directly is the best action. There's also a sandbar ticket of her own, but not as filled in as ours, along with the receipt for the taxi we took here. That's all for that run though, nothing else new happened. So, for the last ending, I get partially dressed, talk to her about the film, compliment her place, ask for a white coffee, think she seems nice, ask about the novel, admit we don't remember last night, have her fill us in, ask about the vinyl collection when she returns from answering the door, have her elaborate on her nicer time, say we've not done anything like this before, go to help her when she rushes to the bathroom, offer help, and then finally ask to stay friends. This time she doesn't need to think about it. We've shared so many common interests and had a good time talking that she doesn't see why we wouldn't be friends. We respond by saying we still don't remember it, or her name. This leads to the only way for Robin to tell us her name without us snooping. And I do find it funny that after the entire mess that is trying to work out her name and not wanting to give that away, she doesn't remember ours either. So we get to name ourselves. I'm going to do this a few times. First I name us Robin too. She thinks it's really cool that we share the same name. Though she does then think it's pretty strange to sleep with someone with the same name. Robin says she had a nice time with us last night and we've been good to her this morning, so she wants to stay in touch. And there is the best possible outcome. She sees us out and gives us her number and we set off home with both of us in good moods. That was the true Friends ending and all 12 endings found. I do like that there's no outcome for it to end in a romantic relationship. She's not looking for one, and saying the right combination of things doesn't rewrite her entire thought process. The best you can have is the possibility of things changing as you get to know each other more. This ending gets us a text from Gary. He's pretty pissed as he was the one who arranged the date with Robin last night and stood her up at our request so we could go drinking with him. And then we've abandoned him and spent the night with her instead. It's never made clear if that was ever our intent, but it seems more like a coincidence than a planned decision. Either way, what little we've seen of Gary does not show him in a good light, so balls to him, he can keep whining. He could have just said no to us. Reloading a quick save at the point we name ourselves, I name us Gary. She finds it funny and says we're nothing like the Gary who ditched her. Yeah, get fucked, Gary. And just to my own curiosity, I say my name is Dickhead. She's surprised but says it suits me. That's it, I'm done with this game. One Night Stand was a fun couple hours, messing about with all the various options and seeing what outcomes I can make happen. I absolutely believed in the awkwardness of a situation when trying to navigate it, and felt Robin was a believable character in the way she responds to most things. I like how it stays grounded to the situation too, even with the arsehole options, it doesn't go too far to be too silly. Hopefully this video was easy enough to follow as I'd like to try out other games like this in the future.